I may write something like, what are my thoughts for the reformulation of a society? But I don't think that we're headed toward a reformulation of our societies. I think the world is going to get worse for the next 100 years before it gets better. Are you as negative as me, Semiogogue?
Well, the Kali Yuga is a trying time for all of us, darkness and destruction on all sides. I think it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better. But as the Turks say, the patient dervish gets what he wants. So it's up to all of us to a considerable extent, particularly to change and shape everything that surrounds us. That's why we were given both the hand and the eye. We can see what we would like to make it, but we can put our hand to it and perhaps shape it. It's the same thing as the Jacob's dream with the angels going up and down the ladder, the old Renaissance idea that developed out of it, the idea of the active and contemplative life. If we spent more time doing things, for example, like establishing collaborative workspaces to remotely cooperate online, and didn't put all our attention just into great shows like this one or, chat and the rest. I mean, what would happen if the dissident right, so to speak, moved over to Google Docs and Slack and all these different services available online that allow you to cooperate? What would happen if we, for example, picked out what goals we wished to achieve, and then the saner and more rational minds among us perhaps decided, well, let's take it in order, because the first thing is that we have to have a success in order to build morale. So identify what needs to be done, and then out of that, reduce the set by saying what can be done, right? And then mobilize people, figure out, subject matter experts, hire or at least identify and loop in attorneys, figure out a way to present the story in such terms that any lawyer that you approach wouldn't want to scrape it off his shoe like dog shit. There are many things that need to be done in order to carry this whole project forward. And while the ferment and natural discussion of the blogosphere and YouTube and all these other things is necessary and certainly worthwhile, I think it's time to go forward the next step. And the big challenge to doing that is to find out how to do so in such a way that you keep the cranks and the idiots and the lawbreakers out, and in such fashion that you cannot be charged with conspiracy, which means that it has to be open, which means that you have to use your real names, you have to have stated goals, and that entails figuring out a way to raise a banner that at least covers the basics that everyone can agree on. And then you openly, without shame and without retreating into the darkness, you openly state what you are about. You use your name as JF does. You use your real name as I do. Now, I understand everybody can't. In places like the UK, you might well be picked up and hauled off to jail. Hell, it possibly can happen in Canada, certainly can happen in Australia, certainly can happen across Europe, But to whatever extent you can step out into the open and say it without cringing and cowering, do so and cooperate, and perhaps thereby we can make some meaningful difference.